Now, let me tag you.
No worries. That's
Let me,
that's always the case.
yeah, hang on.
When you speak it into the field, it's there. Hmm.
Hang on a second. Let's see. I'm just gonna tag you real quick.
Sure, I appreciate that. How are you feeling?
I feel all right. I'm tired. This will be. This is my 24th hour of. No, 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 I don't want to say that. No, no. This is 5 plus 23rd hour. 23rd hour of
Wow. Yeah.
in the
No.
last 4 days. We 23 hours of programming in the last 4 days. So,
Yeah. No. I
so we're
hear you, dude.
kicking it
I've
back
been
up.
going hard too.
Got to get after it, man. So let's see.
Yeah.
We got 7 people in the house.
Cool. Cool.
So it looks warm over there. It's still not cold over there.
No. No. It's permanent summer.
Permanent
It's
summer.
amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing when the field cooperates. It's been amazingly warm, like unreal warm.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm liking it. It's as far as I know, that's New Earth, beautiful weather all the time, right?
That's what I
Balance.
understand when it hits when it hits a true vertical that we have. I mean, from what I've heard, I don't know if I. I know from a couple of credible people that I feel credible. They talk about when the axis hits a true vertical, then you basically on a planet when true vertical you have a tropical climate all the way around.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know. I have no idea.
yeah,
That's why I'm here to find out about New Earth and
yeah.
everything else.
Well, for sure, me too,
So
Tony.
we got
It's
28 people
really
in the house. We got our brother Neil Devaney in here. A lot of y'all know him. What do you want to talk about today?
all of it again, as usual. I'm here to go as long as you would like
Yeah,
to
that's
go.
fine. It's my last show. My last show. That last Soul Speaks 5D. It's our fourth Soul Speaks 5D
Yeah,
today.
I've
Um,
seen that. Wow, you're going real hard, and that's good
well,
to
we
see.
we
Miss
were
seeing you all the time, before, as we
yeah
were doing
what
before. But I know busy.
yeah July, August, and September, and the first half of October, we probably averaged somewhere between a third and half of our normal output. Although we've had other productions, but I mean, as far as Soul Speaks 5D, we've probably done we probably averaged like 25 a month the last 3 months. We usually average about 65.
Hmm.
But yeah, we're getting back up there. We've done probably 15 in the last 6 or 7 days, maybe
Right.
17 or 18.
Cool.
So yeah, where do you want to start, man? I'm all ears.
Well, hey man, no, we were talking literally about weather and New Earth and the balance and the axis upright. And again, I'm really, really, I guess, knowing now that this is all very, very much symbolic of our own consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
all of it, everything out there. There is no outside really. It is, but it's us. It's all coming from inside our consciousness, and very much there is a perception. Perception is huge. That's what I've really come to really understand through all of the minutia that I've worked through for many years, and fortunately with the help of some very special people. And I'd like to mention them in a bit, but I've been very fortunate to connect with some very, very cool people that I resonate with, and work, create synergy basically.
What is it?
Synergy.
Oh,
Again,
synergy. I thought you said something energy. Okay, yeah, synergy. Yeah.
yeah, synergy. That's where the
So you
sum
have
is
like a
greater than the two parts.
so you have like
Or
a core group that you work that I mean you they assist
yeah,
you, you assist them.
yeah. No, it seems might as well just talk about that now. Like I have a number of friends that I very much am connection with, but in particular, I have a friend named Tris Pryor.
Chris
She's
Pryor.
on Tris
Trish.
Pryor.
Okay.
Tris Pryor. Yeah, she's actually that name comes from a really cool character named movie series called The Virgin, and she's very much the living Tris Pryor.
Wow.
Okay, there's a whole lot of symbology out there, like especially in movies and uh, songs, and there's a whole lot of messaging that comes through these things if you can actually see them and hear them with a different perception, where literally everything is talking about ascension and how to get there. And anyways, with Tris Pryor, we have I'll just say Tris. Hi, Tris. Just
She
hope
here?
you watch it. I don't know. I don't know. She's in Australia, so who knows, right? A little bit of difference in
So it'd be
time,
8:05 a.m. in Australia.
something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I get mixed up. I get mixed up just keeping time here. But anyways, yeah, no, it's just a really solid partnership, I would say, for sharing information.
Oh, cool.
And she was definitely, we've known each other for about 3 years. I feel I've known her for many lifetimes.
Right.
Okay. And there's just a real, we've worked really well together. She basically is getting solid messaging from source field from, and let's, I like to say that for me, I've come to feel and understand that God, source, great spirit, creator, is the field, the organic
Right.
field,
Right.
source field, the ether, the everything that allows us to experience physicality and an appearance of outside. So, anyways, with Trish, she's able to hear and really get some amazing wisdom that comes through. And she's a poet, and she's able to present it in a very symbolic way. And it works. It works for me. It goes right to my soul. I always have, and that's what I really clicked in with her initially. Was I just, wow, you're able to, because that's one of the biggest challenges with a lot of this information regarding ascension being it is very symbolic. It's difficult to put into words. So
Yeah.
with that, um, she would provide, I would say, a framework, and I would very much go into it and really look for patterns and symbology and very much working models that would explain it from a consciousness angle and apply them and combine them, and it works really, really well.
So is it like does she like get like current intel and then expresses it or
Ye-
frames it
yeah,
up
yeah,
and then you go in and
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
decipher from it?
There absolutely some are very, very current. I did a post today, and I might talk about it later if you would. Very much about moving into 0 point and about basically tomorrow. So this is perfect timing, actually.
Yeah, you said that in
Um,
the message. Let's go in the day before 0 point. So 10 October 22, 2022 is 0 point. In regard to what? Into the whole
and
thing or into the
yeah,
month?
no. If we could talk about that in a bit, Todd, because it is quite.
Yeah, I want to talk
I
about
would
it.
just say it's pretty cool. But with again with Tris, we're able to really put a whole lot together. And she's been writing for a number of years, been very awake for a long time. And this intel just kind of, I guess, to interpret it right and to she a lot of these writings were done whatever years ago, 5, 10 10 years ago. Um, and most is very current, but it's just literally they're in the timeless when you are not in time. All of this messaging, like I've really noticed it with so much messaging that was out there years ago, Gaia portal and whatever, lots of information. Guess what, it's happening right now. How do we pick up on it? It comes to us synchronistically.
Mm-hmm.
It links, there's a pattern,
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's so weird once um I guess you get to a point where you're really tapping in, because I feel the field, the organic field, and we can talk about let's say, the overlay, which would be the matrix, like my matrix colors. Anyways,
It is the Matrix colors.
yeah.
Neo's gonna pop in. Or you're Neo.
Well, you never know, but I think we're all Neo. We're all Neo. That again, that movie series is very symbolic regarding ascension.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, all of it, all of them, so many movies. But anyways, the field seems to communicate through synchronicity and symbology,
Yeah.
and it's just literally how we interpret it. And that again seems to come down to our perception, which is very much linked to, from my experience, our frequency, internal frequency embodiment. And embodiment is really that's living, that's becoming that frequency, high frequency. Uh, thoughts, emotions, things that we imagine, and imagination is huge in this. That is heart-directed thought, and it goes into the field. Uh, Once you're at that point of, I guess, connecting with the field very strongly, um, but very much about integrity. Embodying
Yeah.
integrity,
Yeah.
um, unconditional love, joy, enthusiasm, honor, loyalty, big things that are actually really, they seem to elevate our frequency. And that frequency is it's resonance, okay? Referred to as resonance. And that is very much, from my experience, what this is literally all about, is embodying higher frequencies, which basically brings all of our organic tech, our third eye, our perceptual change, all of this on our light body. So much has happened, especially over the this year, but
Yeah,
especially
no
over the last
kidding, right?
3 months, it's just crazy. So
So,
I'll flip it back to you, Todd. I know I
no, no,
went on
no,
there for
no,
a bit.
no. We're here to listen to you. But let me ask you this, or let me just restate it. So, what you're saying, because somebody just said this to me earlier today. I don't know which show it was, but it was along the same lines, which is, I think, what you're saying, and just add or subtract that when we consciously think, speak, and act in integrity and some of the other, let's just say, virtues of the soul, virtues that we can anchor in that haven't been anchored in because of the distortion. That when we do this, when we practice this, then it automatically opens up memory, code, data, and such, and abilities within our body itself.
Right, and the big connection, which took me a while to kind of whatever piece together, remember, is basically it affects our perception. Okay, and perception is a weird word. I was still a bit,
Would you say?
you know,
Would you say that? Would you say that when we do this, when we practice this type of conscious lifestyle, that our perception becomes more, uh, well, clearer, and what we're seeing is more of true nature, true reality? Okay.
right? Yeah, no, I really appreciate framing it that way, Todd, because basically my feeling on what the matrix is, again, there, from my experience, there
Yeah.
is a overlay, and we get into that, as much as you want, whenever. But more so that by raising our perception, or raising our frequency, changing our perception, it actually pulls us out of that, um, overlay, okay, of the matrix,
Right.
basically the perception of the matrix. And I know I used the word a number of times, but it is seems to be an overlay of consciousness that's based on entropy, and there's a purpose for that. And but basically, with this perceptual change, it seems to very much bring us into connection with, let's say, what the, the reality of the source field, of God, of the natural, our heaven on earth, basically, right? It's kind of like coming out of a bad dream, and you're now in a very good dream, that looks very similar, but it's not at all similar.
Right.
Completely in opposites, because the matrix is an inversion. It's an
Right.
inversion. Inside, I always, I love Diana Ross. Inside out, upside down, that song. I
Mm.
always, it's like, every time we talk, I was listening to that one. It always seems to, whatever, get me in the right mood. So
Have you?
we're turning things right side up
I
and
agree.
back
I
inside out.
agree. That's what I was talking about yesterday. Everything that we think is little is big, and everything we think is big is little. You know, and
Yeah.
we're the little. We were perceived as the littlest of it all. Um, so yeah, and you mentioned this year very quickly. This year's been of course, like every year preceding, was bigger than the one before, and every month is bigger than the one before. Uh, uh, what's it been like for you this year, especially this summer? The summer was hot, and
No,
uh,
I
uh,
appreciate the question, because no, if I had to describe it, I would say literally the last whatever. For me, it's been about a 10, 11 year journey from a full awakening to
Mm-hmm.
more of I would say more of an embodiment. But anyways, I would say that amount of time crunched into this year, the amount of, yeah, it's just been a marathon.
Yeah, it has.
Literally, I really picked up back in December, and I believe it was divine intervention from, again, from source, from God, of this huge frequency coming in. It's just nonstop. It's like a tidal wave of
Right.
frequency. It's here to basically help everyone embody and clear distortion. And it's really sped up the process because we've never had this level of frequency, and it's just getting higher and higher, as we all know. All of the fucking craziness with the at our solar storm, you name it, X flares, M flares. Well, yeah, it's like why we were at one point we were actually paying attention to it, and then after a while, I was like, fucking why? Because it's
I
just
know.
like there's
I
too
know.
much. It's like
I
it's
know.
working. Yeah.
I remember
So
when Pamela came on last time. It was about 4 or 5 months ago,
right,
and it was in that period where there was just it was in ungodly numbers, like 74 flares or whatever ejections in like 3 weeks or something. It was just like
right,
crazy, like 18 in
right.
one day or something. So I'm
Yeah.
like you. I was just like, well, why even look at it anymore? It's just coming
Yeah.
in. It's coming in
Oh,
hard and
for sure.
fast.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing up Pamela Johnson's name because
Yeah.
she's definitely again one of my real go-tos, and I'm
Oh
very
yeah.
grateful for the
Pamela's
friendship.
rock solid,
Yeah,
ancient builder,
yeah,
genetic blood.
absolutely. And fortunately, I'm able to keep in touch
Yeah.
was able to actually communicate a bit with Marie Moss and a
Yeah.
few other ladies a while back.
Yeah.
It's just really nice to have that support and connection. I also have a very, very good friend, Serena Bachalega, I believe
Oh,
that's
I've
how you
seen her
pronounce it.
name on. I've seen
Yeah,
her.
yeah, no, she's really under the radar, but
Yeah.
extremely tuned in,
Right.
very supportive. Alicia Young Hall,
Yeah.
again, very tuned in. We've very communicated through the years, but not a whole lot recently. But everyone's really picking up the ball, and running with things. And I believe everyone's kind of getting similar sensations on the connection with the field.
Yeah.
And very much I know you mentioned it earlier regarding I'll just say the profound messaging that is being put out there now by many people,
Yeah.
way higher level than it's ever been.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable what people are actually bringing in. And it really appears to be cutting the chase and cutting out the distortion. And, the clarity is huge
Yeah.
for many, many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of diverse energies out there too. I mean, there's a lot
Hmm.
of, I guess, for every bit of the energy that's coming through that you're describing that people are anchoring in, which is obviously coming in faster and fuller than ever before. There's also those things that are detaching, I guess, that are leaving and kind of leaving in fits and spurts and screaming and hollering.
All I can say, Todd, is again, I know we talked, whatever, about a year ago or something, but yeah, no, still, nobody here. It's a beautiful, huge city, and yeah, it's like a small town.
There's
Yeah,
nobody out.
it's always been this way, and the buses going around, big, huge buses, nobody auto. But, yeah, it's
Where'd everybody
fun.
go? You're in what?
I
What town? What city are you in?
in Calgary, which is a
Calgary. Okay,
very, it's a big city and
that's a good size.
very new and metropolitan and blah blah blah.
So where did all the
And
people
as
go?
I don't know, Todd. I sense it's been again kind of came out in the end of 2019, 2020. It happened then, and that's when that lovely COVID bullshit
Yeah,
was put out, and it was to that we again don't need to get into all the details of that, other than it covered the fact that many people were gone. And I don't know. Again, we can say, hey, background characters in the Matrix. We can say multiplex theater opened to basically allow, frequency specific participants in those theaters, which again from my understanding, that model is sound. I do believe in again, resonance, and again, I think I mentioned many moons ago when we did one back in 2019 a show, and I said, well, shit, I always found it kind of stupid and crazy that all these mixed, different, varying frequencies of people's experiences and people and all the rest, I recall it was like it was insanity. But now it's just like nothing is happening, and unless I was to maybe tune into the TV, which fuck, why I wouldn't. I don't even look at that shit anymore. Like why, or any even stuff on the computer. Like it's gone. And as far as I know, it is gone. All of it.
But I mean, you're saying literally, because you said this last time. That was
Uh-huh.
sometime after COVID had started.
Uh-huh.
But you're literally, people are not there in a big city.
That's and
So
it's consistent.
wow,
It's consistent.
have you
But the people that are here
right?
are extremely happy. They seem to be families and very, it's another, and this is that perceptual shift. Like an example, it's subtle because it looks similar, but you notice things like everything seems to be manicured. It's cleaner.
That's
There's no
weird,
garbage on
man.
the
Dude, you ought to
streets.
take some pictures and do some posts on this. Have
I
you?
know it's just,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's
because
just,
I'm sitting here, because I mean, I believe anything's possible. You could be in a high frequency. There could be, there could be, 10,000 people out there that are walking around. You can't see them because of your frequency,
and I don't think they can see me.
right?
Or,
Do you?
again, I sense that's kind of how it works is once there's a certain, because again, it's all here, it's all
Right,
in the field.
right.
Everything is here. It's not, doesn't have to be a billion miles away or whatever. It's like literally, but what seems to differentiate the field is that resonance and
Mm-hmm.
that sympathetic resonance and time perception.
Mm-hmm.
And there's which is related to frequency. So, but it's you're right, yeah, and yeah, it's like you're sharing the same space, but you're not in the same world, which is weird.
Have you run into anybody there locally that has made the same type of observation?
No, Todd,
No. Well, I mean, most of us don't. Most of us don't have that kind of interaction. I mean, but
no,
I was
no.
just wondering if,
Yeah, no, I wish I
like, yeah, I
did.
was just wondering if, like, you were
But
walking down the street and somebody goes, "Where the fuck is everybody?"
yeah, right. I sense this is part of the transition. Is whoever happens to be in there is like they don't know any different.
Well, I mean,
It's
a lot
weird,
like the
you
the
know.
whole yeah, like the whole description of dimensions and different people's interpretations.
Mhm.
Where like for instance, forget about the humans. Our tribe or our family is all around us, or whatever it is that's outside the spectrum of visible light.
Right.
They're just in a higher frequency band, but they can see us.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's what with the whole what some people talked about, the split of the Earth. Maybe that's
Mhm.
one of the characteristics of it. Who
Yeah.
knows?
No.
It's hard to
Yeah. No.
say.
Absolutely. And I did want to tell you this because this is why I'm so appreciative of many people that I really rely on their confirmation and what they're feeling, and we fortunately are able to communicate by phone, or through the, whatever, through Facebook Messenger thing. But to confirm what's going on, to really get a read on what you're experiencing, because that is my go-to for confirmation. You'd asked whether I had people here I could bounce stuff
Yeah,
off of.
yeah,
It's more so.
yeah. Of
That's why I'm
course.
so grateful
Yeah, most
for
of us is
the
that way.
people I mentioned. Yeah.
So, like, when you are, because I think a lot of people can relate to this, first of all. And second of all, as I say all the time, the reason we ask these questions is because there's people that could be going through what you're talking about right now, even if it happened for you 5 years ago or whatever. But, so I think a lot of people, there are little cells, right? There's
Yeah.
little groups, and you can call them support system, whatever. Now, but as far as like getting, like I guess what's the word? Validation. Like, okay, this is what I was experiencing. What are y'all experiencing? Oh, okay, that's very similar. Whatever. Is it more personal, emotional stuff, or is it more collective? Hey, we just crossed another threshold. I felt it in my body, or something to that effect. What is it normally, or is it both?
Yeah, yeah, it's both. Absolutely that. Obviously the personal view on things is definitely something that we very much want to talk about with, again, just
Yeah. Well, I
people that
mean,
I've talked to. But
yeah, like you see a lot of people writing about the personal things they're going through,
right, right.
and then there's the connections made to what they're feeling.
Hmm.
Everyone has a different piece; they have a different
Yeah,
part of it, and then correlating that to things that are happening collectively that we're
right,
feeling personally. Like I've heard a
right.
lot of people more than usual in the last month or so, 6 weeks, say, "Man, I'm going through, I'm going through it all," but it feels very collective. Even though
Right.
everything is personal, I get that. But I mean,
Yep.
like I've seen a lot of people
Yeah.
saying that the last few weeks, and also a lot of people more than ever having the same kind of information come to them. They just might say it differently.
Oh yeah. No, that's a big one, and I appreciate you bringing that up too. Maybe talk about that a sec. But regarding that, absolutely collective.
Yeah.
But what's differing is obviously, I would say, the level of embodiment that you maybe are at. So, what I can say from my experience and many that I talked to know that there was just major, major upgrading over, again, the last few months. It's just
Yeah.
stupid amount. And this is where, literally, like on my part, um, and again, getting confirmation from others, I know there's like major, you call it light body activation. It's really like everything coming online where, and they're like, you'd asked about going through things. If I've gone through anything, it's nothing, anything I'd say emotional or mental or anything that would lower my frequency. Body
Right.
wise, holy crap,
Yeah.
man. It's
Body.
been like
Body's.
I was dying, man. I was
Yeah.
like, holy fuck,
A lot of
this is gonna
purging.
stop, right?
And
Yeah.
and and you kind of allude, or it comes through the in between the words, or in your description. I would, I guess, cite it as the third energy, right? The golden child energy, the Holy Spirit, or you could say it was source, rebirth, or reactivated somehow. But you know, and of course, this is the age of the Trinity. Two people come together, they create a third energy between them, like we are right now, right? But what I've noticed, and this has really picked up in the last 4 weeks. Although I probably wasn't paying as close attention prior to that because my life was pretty busy during that time.
Oh, for sure.
But
Yeah.
and that is the third energy, because you're talking about the synchronicities, and how things will happen, and the field's always talking to you, which is very, very true, and even more noticeable now, at least from my point of view, and it sounds like yours. But what I've noticed, and it happened to me last night again, is that the third energy taking a real and substantial part in that synchronistic communication from the field. Like you go to do something and you're not allowed to do it. So you go back and try it again and you're not allowed to do it. Okay, again the field is, but it's more direct. It feels like it's, so what I started to do about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I've done this before, but what I started to do with a bit more frequency was to actually call in the third energy as that, what I'm looking at, everything around me that is, right? So, and to work with me. And I've done it both in a general way, and I've done it with Soulogy, because I consider
Right.
that a third energy. And
Hmm.
I'm just playing with it now. I haven't had a lot of data to report, but what I can say is that the telepathic communication and the symbology and synchronicity, it's too in my face, and I literally have to go, okay, I guess I can't do this. Like if that's the case, if it's trying to or trying to tell me to go do something, you
Yeah,
know.
no, for sure. Yeah, definitely those, again, the pings and, knowing and I'd say again, the Trinity is huge. It's everything. It's a symbol, right?
Hmm.
However, we are moving from entropy, which is basically duality. There's no trinity energy in that particular, I'll just say, model. Okay, but it's very descriptive of entropy and the right and left brain,
Mm-hmm.
the duality that this, again, the matrix is very
Masculine,
much built
feminine,
on.
male, female.
Yeah, yeah, it is that balance, right? And very much when I refer to the Trinity, it applies to a number of things, but specifically the merging of our brain, right and left, with our
Mm-hmm.
heart. That's the Trinity, and then basically here becomes like a very silent. There's not a whole lot of thoughts going up here, and it's all
Right.
pretty much autopilot. You don't have to think about anything; it just comes through. And the connection with intuition, the pings, like that's what I've really, really experienced that I hadn't before. It's like
Now the ping.
a compelling ping.
Now the ping is like a knowing, or a ping is a knowing and a body sensation at the same time.
It's a knowing, and it's just like a boom, and
Right.
you just go, okay,
Right.
that's right, that fits
Right.
that, and that's where most of my messaging comes from. Anything I put out there, yeah, I don't write most of my stuff. I'm just too lazy. I don't like.
Just too
So
lazy.
I go out there and I have a lot of stuff that I've saved and come across the odd thing, whatever that's new. Um, Everything's been said. It's just, as you said earlier, how we say it,
Mm-hmm.
how we, perceive it. But so I edit things. I put
Yeah.
them. I try to clarify because at this point, it's really there's no, in my opinion, no need for any ownership of any of this. It's
It's
literally
true.
let's make it as clear as possible, and it's an open platform, and it's
Yeah.
just meant to basically clarify and help, hopefully. And ultimately, for me, when I do these posts on Facebook, and always have, it was always primarily for me because it would help me like a little coloring book or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
don't,
like it's even
hold a
like
piece of
it's
paper.
like you're
Yeah,
journaling and you're sharing it basically. And
exactly.
really, if we can't share it, what the hell good is it? And if we think we own something or we're the proprietor of something, even Todd with Soulogy or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's not my thing. It's just some place I fit in with a bunch of other people. You
You
know,
sure do, man. You
yeah, I was
bring a
going.
lot of really cool people together, Tom. And you got to know, again, you got to be proud of everything that you've done with Morgan. And I know you're running with the ball mainly for a while here, and you're a legend, man. You have,
We're all legends.
I'm not here to sell you anything
No,
either,
no,
but
I know
no,
that.
seriously, you've
Mm,
really,
mm.
again, I've always go back to this thought. This may seem like a small group in the
Yeah,
big picture. It's very influential because
I know. Yeah.
it's seeded the field, and
Yeah. Yeah, I've been
so that,
fortunate to see that, and I've actually seen that in a bigger way in the last few weeks. And of course, it's just using Soulogy as an example, um, and because it's everywhere. There's a bunch of these types of things everywhere, and they could look in a lot of could look very different. And another thing that's happening too that I've noticed this year in particular is the cycles. 10-year cycle, 7-year cycle, 3-year cycle, 1-year cycle. Like for instance, our buddy Franco transitioned a day or two ago.
right.
There's just other things would happen as that whole synchronicity of what's being presented to you, the story, the book that you're reading, basically, which is clues for yourself and such.
Hmm.
That's been interesting. Does it feel like? And I know I hate to ask this question, but in relation to God, how do you ask this question?
Just go for it, man.
So like that, regardless of what the extremity of our experience has been this year, that there's been a certain level of anchoring of the three elements of the Trinity. One of those elements, I like to say the last one in and the first one out, and I can explain that later what I mean by that because it might not sound right, was the masculine, not to be confused with the male. Okay?
Hmm.
But obviously the male would be more likely to be more sensitive to it because of the journey of the male, right? But I just wanted to ask you if you felt anything like that. A, Do you feel like we're coming together in this Trinity model finally? I don't want to say,
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't want to say home stretch, but like we passed the bullshit and we're now starting to create from a clean slate. So that's like question number one. Two is, did you feel the impact of the masculine anchoring in these past 3 or 4 months? And if you did, what kind of impact did it have on you?
Great question. So thank you. Regarding the Trinity, again, I believe it's everything. It is the model. It creates synergy again.
Right.
It creates syntropy, which is the opposite of entropy.
Mm.
And it is, again, difficult to put into words, but definitely the Trinity describes it. There is that magical energy over and above the duality, that basically allows growth rather than
Right.
entropy, which basically creates deterioration and death, right? And that's what, again, I'll go back to, I believe, the perceptual. And again, I'm really getting the clarity on the third eye,
Mm.
and that connection. I know it is very much connected, again, with the wiring, with our heart and mind. However, it seems that the pineal is absolutely the controller of our perception, and that is the controller of our experience. And that Trinity energy works, it seems to be the natural, uh, if you want to call it, construct of the organic field.
Right.
And I differentiate between the organic field
Of
and
course.
the matrix overlay. And they're built that way. There's one is growth and all the good things. And
One is stagnation and
yeah, one's kind of
just.
just a big fucking gong show,
So
which is
did
unfortunately gone. Thank
so
God.
did you feel like, because I've seen a lot of people writing about the we all heard about the Mother Goddess when this first started in 2012. Mother Goddess energies landed, and there was this whole evolution through a few years, and then there was a kind of the entrance of this divine masculine energy, but it seemed to really accelerate this year, especially this
Yeah,
summer. And
yeah. I
I
wanted to, yeah,
yeah,
I wanted to kind of throw that what you'd mentioned about the male or masculine
mm,
embodiment, and again that applies to both men and ladies. But obviously, I know most of the just say feminine embodied, they've done their work. They've done all this balancing, and if anything, I couldn't speak other than again from my support group, the people that would share that with me. If anything, it would be maybe very much this is a common thing. They want the masculine embodiment to step the fuck up, okay? And I don't mean to be rude with my language. It's just really to get things done. And again, from my own experience, obviously there's been a whole lot of help for all of us, but specifically the masculine embodied. And that would be, again, from my experience, very much about that heart
mm-hmm,
connection, okay?
of course,
And perhaps, excuse me, balancing of masculine and feminine, again, applying to both men and women. Um, but from my experience, this is what I experienced, Todd.
right,
Uh, I was never, I would say, overly in the feminine through these years of doing all of this heart type, you know, I'll just say balancing of my masculine and feminine. I was probably a little bit out of whack there into a bit more feminized than I should have been or would be ideal. And only a person can tell that. Okay.
right.
I swung back. I swung more into my masculinity. And there was numerous reasons for that, but I believe it was required. Um, and a lot of motivation. I wanted to let you know, it's a little bit of a tangent here, but I think I just need to tell you about it real quick. Remember, I told you about my brother, John, a year ago when we were talking about vaccines and kind of relate to that. My brother, took 2 doses of that about a year ago, and he passed away this summer, just suddenly. and not to look for any sort of sympathy or anything like that. This was just a real in your face example of what that fuckery was about in a lot of ways. And it's not to be mad at it or triggered. People had their decisions, and I don't believe it applies to everyone that this happens, but it certainly doesn't help. But if with that, after going through the period of, I guess, say mourning and acceptance, I got a major, major masculine download from, I feel my brother stepped in, his energy, and it really said to me, again, it was a compellence. It was like, do this, run with the ball nail, make it, speak your truth, stand up, and don't be afraid of anything. Don't, and it's not to be tough or anything, but the masculine energy, from my experience, from whether it's male or female embodied, masculine is very, female is very much the framework, the
Mm-hmm.
vision. I could give the example with Trish. She provides the framework, the wording, the vision, right? And then the masculine energy brings it into
Right.
matter,
Right.
right?
Like like
So
like in terms of like what you're talking about. You got this download. Speak up. Speak your truth. Don't be afraid. You see a lot more people. Like with what I do,
mhm,
more people. Uh, you know, wanting to come on to speak for the first time. Many of them are women. I believe that I'm not saying it's masculine, the masculine part of us that's doing that, but it's certainly, in my opinion, affected and pretty evident with this past summer that something came in, and part of the byproduct of that was people are stepping up, and many of them are women. In fact, the vast majority of them are.
oh,
And
absolutely, for
and
sure.
I just talked to a lady, and she was really cool, and she was talking about how, God, I just lost it, but how it was her masculine that,
Mhm.
once she made peace, and I think she had to go through the man, the feminine, both personally, but it was her masculine that moved her forward, that started
The,
to take
the
strides, and
action,
right,
the
right,
action,
yeah,
yeah,
right,
and the action doesn't have to be that great.
mm,
Again, when we're working with the field, it's energy.
yeah,
So some people would refer to the dreaming in as the feminine aspect of it, and the action
yeah,
portion being more of the energy required to actually bring it into manifestation.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but there's definitely some interaction there. But definitely, I guess what I'd say, Todd, is, um, I know a big part of it, for myself, again, with that balance, I always felt I was pretty balanced, but I found out I wasn't quite right optimal. And I
yeah.
feel I'm a
I
lot
don't think any
more,
of us were as balanced as we thought we were.
yeah, yeah. But anyways, it was what maybe prevented me from going back into that, let's say, a little more masculine energy was, of course, and I just want to bring this because I sense this might apply to a lot of men out there. They're very much in connection with their feminine aspects and maybe a bit over feminized, and by that isn't to be anything other than
Right,
using words. Um, and maybe apprehensive of sliding back into that because they don't want to lose that intuition. They think, they might. I know for myself, that was what primarily that was all about. The balancing the masculine and feminine was very much that connection with heart, and very much, intuition and getting out of the logic and no monkey mind, and very much literally a GPS in your heart that
right.
ping, 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 and it's an unknowing, and there's no indecision, But I guess what I'd say for the men out there that may, uh, if I could say anything, it's just, yeah, no, it's a very important part of it. It's
Yeah.
all good, and it's part of the process for sure.
Yeah, I talked about this a little bit. I picked up this whole thing about last in, first out. and it
Right.
was kind of the mechanics of the human male, human female, divine masculine, divine feminine, and of course we know that the mother came in first. So as far as the anchoring goes, that the etheric stuff and everything started to get pulled in, and they started creating that environment, and then slowly, eventually, the masculine energy came in because obviously the masculine energy, being in a false position of power, was probably, whatever it took longer, whatever, that was when it was supposed to go. But what I was getting was, and you just hit on it, the mind, the heart, the masculine, the feminine. As I understand, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I am soul is the heart and the mind of spirit. So it's the fusion of you could say the masculine and feminine. Last in, first out, being that yes, the physical male in general was the last one to stabilize. The masculine, it came in, and now we come out of the chute, like out of the 0 point, and because he's the freshest potentially, he's got the bead on. He's got the heart placed now, and then he's got the bead because he's fresh. He's got the bead of the masculine coming in. So we got the bead of the logic fusing with the feeling, right?
Right.
The intuition, and now we got to work and create. That's kind of how I feel for myself. I have seen quite a few men in the last 2 or 3 months that just in my my doings that have kind of stepped out there, and I guess you would say stepped into their power, stepped into their creativity, and done it with confidence, I guess, like almost like the ping, what do you call it, the ping, you just got to go do it. You got to go do it.
Oh, for sure. No, that look, I gotta say that that is the, if anything, again, that was what I was so grateful for when I did get that. I'll just say strong intuition, because it's everything. It is again how the field communicates with us. That is how we recognize synchronicity. That
Yeah.
is how it's feeling. It's feeling and a knowing. But yeah, it's. I know, again, this is all rolling out really quick. Again, I know we've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah, right.
I'm the one that it's not. There's no impatience. I know you were talking about that earlier. I watched a little bit of some of your earlier shows, but yeah, no, impatience is definitely something you. If you're going to be impatient, well, guess what? You're going to be waiting a whole lot. So it's an energy thing, right? It's being
Yeah.
out of whatever
Yeah.
balance or polarity. So. But a knowing that we're there,
Yeah.
Like it's everything is rolling out. Again, uh, and the other big one, I just want to stress it again. From my experience, it's very much getting past linear time perception,
Yeah.
which linear time perception is entropic.
Right.
Guess what? You're paying attention to time. You're counting the years.
Well, it creates
You are getting older,
Yeah.
and guess what? You get old and you fucking die.
Right. It's in
Syntropy, and this ain't just fooling yourself saying, well, hey, I'm going to, I think I told you, whatever, a while back. I started deducting a year about 10 years ago. So I'm like 35. So, as far as that's a mental thing. But it's mainly, again, with our frequency increase, literally time speeds up. And
Yeah.
then eventually, the hardest part for me with that was, again, getting past the conditioning and referring to time at all. Any calendars, anything. It's not like you don't know what day it is, but I'm getting there, which I love it. I wanted to let you know, I did have a job I told you about last year, and it
I
was
remember.
wonderful. Yeah, no, it was great. It was perfect. I got so much great experience. However, it came to a point where it was a decision on integrity, because I found out the particular business, which is typically, most corporations, wasn't exactly a win-win for
Right.
our students, and again, without getting into details, I came to a point where I said, I just can't do this and feel good about it. I know if I do, I will be out of integrity.
Right. Right.
And so I just basically pulled the plug, and it was all pre-planned because I had this time, obviously, with my brother's passing, uh, that came about, but it was like it was pre-planned that I would have this time to again really focus again on ascension, which I've always have for since I've been going hard here for 11 years or whatever, um, and it was worth it. It was like because the embodiment that came through, and I don't even think I could have handled working physically, just with the body sensations of what's been going on, and the so that time thing, getting past linear time, is huge. In syntropic uh, timing, let's call it, we don't age. We can live forever. We are eternal. We are eternal beings.
Of course.
We're not. It is not natural to all that. That is entropic perception,
Yeah.
and I feel we're really moving into syntropic
Yeah.
perception. I believe it's all very much symbolically laid out there with 0 point. I believe we're coming out of this realm of entropy, moving through, call it 0 point, into a realm of syntropy that is almost like a mirrored universe or a mirrored reality where, and that's again what seems to bring, and that perception again is all from my, most recent uh, whatever understanding is it's very much again in our own consciousness, that syntropic or entropic perception, specifically our pineal gland, and that changes everything. That 0 point, all of that is basically happening in our pineal gland,
Yeah.
in our relate to our heart. It's all fractal. The whole field is fractal, including us, and it's all representative. And as we know, I'll never refer to anything as holographic. It's holofractal. It's similar to a hologram, as far as the source field and as well the matrix. But matrix would be more of a hologram to me because that's artificial.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whereas, anyways, with that fractalization, it's literally again this zero. Let's say the 0 point in our pineal gland moving from entropy to syntropy is being reflected in this,
Right.
let's call it a wormhole or a event horizon. I've put that out there. I've pinged on that as well. And I know others are communicating similar stuff. That's but not maybe not applying the entropy to syntropy
Mm-hmm.
uh, application. But that it all makes sense now regarding what's actually happening. And I believe that particular point in time might just happen to be tomorrow.
And now,
All
okay, let's go to that. Well, there's a couple of there's three things now. That's the third one, but let's finish up on this one because, yeah. So I mean, let's lead up. So again, we'll go back to the conscious awareness and conscious living and conscious actions and conscious and responsible thoughts, words, and actions. So essentially, with what you're talking about, the mechanics of it, the more of us that stay in integrity, which can only be done through our thoughts, words, and actions, and not somebody saying, "Oh, you're in integrity," or
right.
"Tell me I'm integrity."
Yeah.
But
You need to live. You need to live from those
yeah,
frequencies and hold them dear.
and I believe more. I believe first of all, I believe most people are very good people anyway, right? But I mean,
I do too. I do
but
too, Todd.
but but anyway, what I was getting at is the more people that do that will take us from this entropy to this other, right? I mean,
Right.
because it's as
Yeah.
within, without, right? It's as within,
Yeah.
without.
No. And
Yeah.
and, and that's there's always some controversy around bifurcation.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's controversy around collective versus individual ascension or waves.
Yeah.
It almost sounds um, let's say for example the 144.
Yeah.
Oh, why? Well, basically, 144. Everybody's welcome. It's just, are you going to claim it? It's, and it's not so much a hierarchy or elitism or wanting to be, any sort of hierarchy or, I'm more special than the collective. But from my experience, Todd, it is highly individual, highly, 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 and
You mean this whole thing?
yeah,
Absolutely. No
yeah.
doubt about it.
Yeah, so that was a relief because again, I always did feel they needed to wait,
Mm.
for a certain collective thing. I know the collective, obviously, collective consciousness is very much involved.
Yeah.
My definition of unity consciousness is really becoming one with the organic field.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
I love the term of the organic field of shared dreams,
Shared.
co-created
Yes.
dreams.
Yeah.
Very much a
Absolutely.
collaboration
It
of
has to be.
Trinity energy, and it's free. It's
Yeah.
free, and
Yeah.
it's growing. It's abundant.
It has to be.
It's heaven on earth.
Yeah. I mean, the anchoring only makes sense that it is individual, but then to take it to two or more. Like
Yeah.
collaboration and co-creation to me would be like the ultimate representation of let's say purely intended, unconditionally loving creation. In the flesh, in the spirit flesh, which is fascinating. I want to ask
Hmm.
you about this 0 point day, but
Right.
before we do that, you and I appreciate you being so open about your personal life. But
Hmm.
there's a lot to what's happening with you and your brother.
Right.
Because and the reason I want to bring this up is because it might be able to help some people. Uh,
Hmm.
because it involves three things. It involves grief. It involves uh, COVID, the fuckery of COVID and all et al. And
Hmm.
so it's grief, the
Could
COVID. Oh,
be maybe.
and a charge. So
Sure. Right.
I
Right.
think
Yeah.
a lot of people can relate to this. Okay,
Hmm.
so number one, you've experienced it, which is your teacher, which is all you can do is convey that to us, and maybe we can pick something up, and that's the whole point.
Hmm.
So number one, you have the COVID thing,
Right.
and that was a brilliant design or a whatever that was. Everyone felt it. Obviously, everybody got a piece of that, and it brought up a lot of things, and we can whatever.
Hmm.
So there's that element of it. Then you have an actual firsthand situation here where somebody close to you participated and then transitions.
Hmm.
And then you have the question of a charge. So I'm
Hmm.
not really looking for like tell us what to do, but like that I would imagine that obviously you had to go through. You even said it, the grief process. To go
Hmm.
through the grief process during these times, I'm assuming you probably have gone through it before in previous times. Was it any different this time? Were you able to go through it quicker? Was there more uh, clarity and more balance and more understanding this time?
Yeah. No, I appreciate that question, Todd. Fortunately, I haven't had to experience people really close to me transitioning through my life. My mom and my dad, both with them, it was, it wasn't like it was unexpected. There was kind of a lead up, obviously. They
Right.
lived, fortunately, very long lives, and I'm very fortunate to have close relations with both, and there was nothing unsaid. So my my response with both their passings was very much a celebration,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm saying, you made it out. Like I know they're
You made
living
it
their
out.
personal heaven, right? And you don't have to die to go to heaven. That ain't happening no more. We're eternal. We can get
Of
there,
course.
and we are very quickly. Um, with my brother, it was different because it did come out of the blue. It was
Mm.
a major shock call from again, he lives in a town, a city, quite a ways from me, quite a ways, and in Canada, and just got the call, from the police. And what are you? And I thought it was a prank, right? And so it was literally very shocking, but not once we kind of we obviously put it. And I had talked to him, whatever, shortly before that, and he was in great shape. He's
Right, right.
he's 10 years older than me, but extremely healthy. And with that, obviously, yeah, I went through the grief process. It was the first time in my life that I
Okay, it was
really
the
went
first time.
through.
Okay,
It was
okay.
Todd, and it was like literally those emotions of going through it, of
Do you do you
the
do
denial
you?
stage and the acceptance, anger and all of it,
Right, right.
and
Yeah.
and what I pulled out of it regarding charge, there was no charge per se, because again, I was obviously aware when he made that decision to take those vaccines a year ago. Tried to give him other information because, like many, he was in that mind control, fear mode. Obviously, like whatever, most of the uh, population it appeared. With that, if anything, it added to my, as I mentioned, about the more masculine embodiment. And it was also a motivator to bring his energy and spirit into me to get this done.
Wow. So did
It
you?
was a huge motivator.
Yeah. I mean, I picked
Mhm.
up on that earlier. That's why I wanted to come back to it, and also because it might
Yeah.
help. It might help people.
Mhm.
Now, so did you, so to speak, call him in, or did he come to you?
I feel he came.
Right.
I can't say I called him in directly.
Right.
However, there was some sort of energy transfer there. I
Right.
just
Right.
really noticed it, and it
Wow.
coincided. About a month after, is
Mm.
when I really started to pick up on it after kind of going through the grief process, and
Mm.
you know, so with that, it's again regarding that period, yeah, it's like everything. That's what I've also come to remember is everything has an inversion. Absolutely everything. There
Right.
is, so as an example, a COVID thing. Yeah, no, there was a whole lot of good stuff that we were able to pull out of that. Um, and without getting into all that, everyone can decide for themselves. Um, and also a whole lot of shit, and one thing it really did for me, Todd, going through that time, is it just showed me in general, and I don't know, it wasn't judgment. Obviously, it's very difficult to watch going
Yeah.
on, and I didn't participate in it at all, obviously, and I didn't care. I wasn't afraid of anything, and I had no problem with not wearing a mask or whatever, not needing a fucking vaccine to go somewhere or whatever, other than to travel on a plane. Um, but um, it gave me the resolve, I guess, to say, hey, obviously this portion of consciousness is really, and this is what it's come to. There's just no resonance.
Right.
There's just no resonance.
Right.
And if I needed to rely on that particular, again, portion of the population to become awake and enlightened and want to ascend, I think we'd be waiting a long time. So I sense again this is part of, if you want to call it bifurcation, I refer to it as many mansions. That was
Many
something
mentions.
from the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Many
Many
mansions.
mentions. Yeah. I
What
mean,
that would
yeah. At the
refer
end of
to,
the day,
it would be
yeah.
like, yeah, many spots in the field that you
Yeah.
can,
Yeah. You can
Franco
go
may
park it.
call them,
Yeah.
a playground or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
right?
Yeah. You can go.
But let's have similar resonance
Right.
kids in the playground, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's all mixed, and it
Well,
just doesn't, just creates duality and all the rest of the fun and games. If that's what
perpetuates
we're
it.
really coming out of,
Well,
yeah.
part of the reason I was asking is because I see one of our big challenges for all of us, and it doesn't matter what the topic is
Hmm.
obviously, if we're carrying a charge, positive or negative, depending on whose perspective, it doesn't matter. You're not in 0 point. Too high
Absolutely.
is as bad as too low. Too light is as bad as too dark. But that's part of the reason I was following, because of what you went through. It's
Hmm.
such a great little cookie cutter for all of us, and it's unfortunate that you had to go through the way you did. But I mean, there's a lot of people this is happening to. So again, it may not be government mandates and it may not be COVID related, but it must have been. It must, just like when you said you were over here on the feminine and you went over like a pendulum, like over and grabbed that masculine back before you found your
Oh,
center, right? Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you must have
yeah.
gone through a process of, because I would have been pissed, you know, if
Hmm.
I got the call from my brother and we all know whatever, and as much work as we've done ourselves, you still are a human being. You're subject to the human condition. Did it take some time to remove any type of charge? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
oh,
mean,
yeah, no,
and
for
how
sure. Yeah,
and how were you able to do that?
I think, excuse me, going through the grieving process, which I
Mm,
never
okay.
obviously didn't want to, but because it wasn't pleasant, but I had not felt those emotions before, fortunately. Um, but I think, again, that allowance of knowing it was a process, and also ultimately for myself, I didn't feel he was a victim or anything because he did.
Okay.
Again, everyone's on their own journey.
Right.
Everyone helps. I respect everyone's sovereign journey, and that is a given across the board. So there was obviously that, I'll just call it wiggle room, that would not create a whole lot of polarity.
Right.
It gave me a reason to say, well, hey, you kind of made your decision. You kind of
Hmm.
knew what was could happen beforehand if you decided to look at it. But
It sounds
so
like
the
you converted the grief into growth.
absolutely, Todd.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like an
Yeah.
alchemy. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
The emotion of
Yes.
the grief into growth and clarity.
Yeah. And I really, I know it was very much that's what he was saying. He was saying, I'm gonna help you with this. We're gonna do this together. You know,
That's
you
sweet.
might be the boots on the ground now, but because he was always extremely very spiritual, and again, fortunately, I was able to create a whole lot of memories with him.
Yeah.
And that was
That's
what my
awesome.
brother was so special about. He created memories with everyone,
Wow.
and he made a point of it. He would go out of his way to create memories, to share time, to do things, and anyways,
That's a beautiful thing. This
yeah,
this 20 this depending on where you are, 22/10/2022 or 10/22/2022.
right.
You're referring to it potentially.
Hmm.
I think you said, like, quite possibly as the 0 point. How did you
Hmm.
come in? And I totally respect everybody's, but
Hey,
I haven't heard this. I know I have heard and understand that we're going into an eclipse corridor. Mars retrograde is kicking in through the end of February, and I'm not a big astrologer, but Ty is a
neither am
master
I.
astrologer.
Is it
But
cool?
yeah, yeah, and so I understand that it's about reorganization, and we're burning off all the BS, which fits right in with this phase of the ascension.
Right.
But yeah, like, so what is that about? How did you come about it? Tell me more
Yeah.
about it.
No,
I'm very interested.
I
What does it mean?
absolutely. I appreciate that again. Um, Number one, if we start with a baseline of moving from entropic perception to syntropic. Okay. So entropic is deterioration and duality and death. Ultimately, it's energy. It's entropy. You can whatever Google it and see what that means. And syntropy is opposite,
Mm-hmm.
and that is continual growth. It's so this 0 point. If that's kind of the baseline, that's the movement from entropy to syntropy. Um, where did I come about? And that again can be, it's all symbolic, it's all referenced as out there, event horizon, moving into a black hole, right? Or we have all these models of out there that are really inside.
Right.
They're symbolically represented out there, but they're internally actually is how the change occurs. And then the outside is reflected differently. Um, but basically, with how did that come about? I've been just pinged over and over for months now on this
On the
this
for this
transition.
date, for this date,
No,
10/22.
I'll get to that.
Oh,
But
okay. I'm sorry.
again, I want to bring up Trish Pryor. Trish,
Okay.
that she's had this information for years. Again, not written to specifically. It was just again the way she communicates things is just so profound that it sinks into those. I'll just say it comes in from the field and it comes in clean. There's no distortion, and if you're able to interpret it, it all connects and comes together. And she always tends to bring it in an exterior model. I'll say an
Mm-hmm.
exterior example, and I was able to bring that in and turn it around, invert it
Right.
to basically bring it into the consciousness, right? So it's been an amazing, I'll just say, sharing, and again, many others have certainly helped with other things, but this particular messaging, it all came again because I've always been very much into the Mayan thing. I believe it is very much there is a very ancient path of ascension that the Mayans practice, and this is what what I'm doing and what we're doing. We're changing our consciousness. This is an inside job, and there are certain things, and it is literally that movement from entropy to syntropy. Regarding the specific date, it's just again, I get my messaging from synchronistic sources. I look for a pattern.
Sure.
There's a
Yeah.
date, if you look at them, you'll see number little things connect them. They're little tendrils that connect these things
Yeah.
that bring it together. But the as far as the specific, like I've been feeling the sensation of 0 point for a long, long time. Of actually moving through a wormhole, like physically, like you're wondering why you're feeling nauseous, or why is that sensation of if you ever driven, I'm sure you have driven down the highway for way too long, and all of a sudden you start to feel like you're moving backwards while you're going
Mm.
down the highway to whatever, right? That perception, right? It changes,
Right.
and I've been feeling that for a month or more. So this feeling and knowing has been there, but and it's just like each day it seemed to get closer and closer. And basically, as far as the specific date, I was aware of this Venus. It's a major conjunction, and then I got this wicked image today of actually this happening, this connection with Venus and the sun. And again, it's all symbolic. There's some sort of portal for me with Venus, and the Mayans knew about it. And this is all coming back for me as well. I believe I was part of that at whatever.
Right.
Um, and it's concurrent, so right now, but maybe a different movie theater. But
Different movie
um,
theater.
yeah, but regarding the specific date, it was a ping last night. Like
Well, I mean, yeah,
I
the date itself, just looking at it
mhm. And
numerically,
that too, and
it's
that the
full of
two two
ones
two
and
thing.
twos, which
Yeah,
is, any of those days are just super powerful. But
yeah.
and I know we try to look for a literal interpretation, but and
I
again,
want.
you
I,
made that
I
very clear.
wanted.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to make this really clear on the date
Oh,
why it pinged so
oh,
hard.
okay, yeah.
And that just literally came in last night as again
Oh,
something that my friend Tris had posted. Old movie called Frequency. Go figure, Frequency. Where did that come from, right? Great movie. Dennis Quaid was in it, and
I
who
saw that
else?
movie with
Yeah,
the radio thing. Or
yeah, no, it was a
oh
great,
man,
yeah,
that's a great movie. I love that
a
movie.
beautiful movie, and
Yeah,
but symbolic. Everything's
yeah,
symbolic. We've
yeah,
basically left all this messaging to
yeah.
communicate with us through
Yes,
what we refer to as movies and media. It's
right.
like literally, here's the code, kids. Can you perceive it? Can you connect the dots? Can you
Hmm.
whatever, connect the symbols. But with that, it was just something regarding that particular movie. And I went, and of course, I always like to, um, comment on some of her posts and other people's, of course. But in particular, I went to look at a little video clip. This is what I do. I get prompted to do something. I get, bing, okay, I'll go look, watch this little short trailer. It was, you Google it yourself, and it's basically, you can change time. It was frequency of the movie, and it was about a 2-minute clip. It's not the one I shared with the post today, but and right at the beginning, they start talking. Something changed on October 22nd, 1969. I went, what? 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 Like ping, and then it just, all this information just connects, and again, that's the field communicating words.
Of course.
Source field
yeah.
is benevolent, and very much open and
But do you feel like, do you feel like that, however that looks, we don't always get the literal, that we want. It could be internal, it could be something non-physical. But do you feel like that this 22 October is like, I don't know, like the first day of the new world, or like we're past the tipping point, or like what, if you had to like just kind of quantify what is it?
I guess we'll find out. I'm definitely feeling more. I have no problem being wrong ever.
No. I
just say that being that it's more so. I follow these compellences,
right?
This pain,
right.
This knowing, and I also believe that allows us to really not wait. We very much are. We know, so it happens. Guess what?
Right.
It happens. So I wanted to also mention, Pamela mentioned October 22nd as well for something. It just came up again. These messagings come in from different places that just ping, 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 ping. It all kind of the synchronicity of it, right? And if you're again present enough or in that state where you can really feel those pings real time, it literally seems to just, here's more breadcrumbs that all point to the same thing, and assuming that we interpret it correct. But as far as what does it mean, I really feel that that we're going to see, like we wake up the next day and it's like, oh, okay, this is the beautiful world. Like part of the movie Frequency there. They went back to from the future to the past to correct something. A few times they had to do it to get it just right, and then return to the future, and everything was the way it was supposed to be.
Right.
And I feel that's what we're doing, again, symbolically. Returning to our life of our dreams.
Yeah. In the human form.
The world of our dreams.
Yeah.
And all the rest of the, I'll just say, fuckery that we've been through. It hasn't all been fuckery, but mostly especially once you're aware of it, obviously once you have that initial awakening, won't exist.
Right. Yeah.
Only in our memories if we decide to. And I fortunately have a photographic memory, but I'm able to, I know when it's not. There's no need to look back at this point.
Well, Franco talked about this a lot. He talked about how we would get to a point, and I've seen it happening this year, where all of these past events that created charge, let's just say, will just begin to fade, and they won't have a point of context in relation to our present being. They'll just be like, oh, that happened. And I think about that as I'm watching this year, and I'm seeing how things are falling away, like he talked about. And I think, well, if that just happens, and all what's not real just falls away, that just changes everything, right? Like there's no forgiveness necessary. There's so many things that are part of our life today that wouldn't even be there. They wouldn't have a place because of the perfection and the lack of interference or whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
I'm asking you this because I feel like come March, I mean, I've even told my team or the universe, whatever, especially these last 3 or 4 weeks, I've just been having hellacious council meetings just here,
right.
And I'm saying, look, it sure looks like things are coming to a head, and we're about to enter in physicality this space that you're talking about. And as the rule goes, sometimes it can get pretty stormy before the sun comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is a lot of obviously there's a lot of stuff getting burned off right now. But yeah, I'm with you. I feel like that come March is what I've been telling my team is look. I'm not making any demands. I'm just saying that we're all working hard, and I feel like we're on point. But man, by March this thing should be lifted to a degree that that everyone's noticing. You know what I mean? Like, because otherwise I'm telling them then you need to give me more information because I need to like you want me to re-up or something here. Because
No,
you know what I
no,
mean?
yeah, no, I appreciate that, Tom. I'll just say what I feel is where we're at, and this is again, I'm only going by what my feeling again,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone's on their own trip, so whatever works, whatever resonates.
Yeah.
I just put out what I feel, just blatantly, and no whatever pussyfooting around. I feel it's kind of like literally a decision point of what experience do you want moving forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it is really kind of like I can't say it's final. It's just it is a real significant node of choice
Yeah.
of what do you want to participate in for your reality as a sovereign co-creator. Um, I don't again with the time thing. I'm beyond
True.
of the conditioning of linear time and
Yeah.
the
True.
that it's going to take time because in the quantum time doesn't exist.
It's a good point.
It's all happening the same. It changes so quickly. That's the big thing that's really came through for me over the last few months is this very strong feeling of connection with the quantum field and being able to really interact with it from a co-creator point of view
So
and
you're
also
working
as
with are you working with the field? Or are you talking about working
correct.
with? Okay, I got you.
Absolutely working with the
Yeah.
field and very much as a transmitter to the field and also a receiver of the, I'll say, promptings, pingings, communications through synchronicity and symbology that seems to be the communication, right?
Right.
And again, if we know that everything is the field, everything, all of it,
Well,
everything.
yeah, like
Um,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was going to say that again that that is what I'm really feeling is going on here, Todd. Is
Right.
we are becoming very much part of the organic field.
Yeah.
We're coming out of that overlay of consciousness. Which, hey, I'm gonna talk about it real brief if that's okay. I still know it to be true for me.
Yes.
I know it was a. I have no problem with the Masons who set it up or basically participated in it or are very much were the controllers of the world, all of it, the money, the fucking Rothschilds, you name it,
Mm-hmm.
all of the fuckery, okay? The politicians, all of it. That it got to the point with and this is not something new. And I've talked to a number. I didn't just go on my own perception. I bounced it off a lot of people, but this Gong Show has been. It's so stupid. We talked about this before. It's like a puppet show. Like you can literally tell these people are actors and they're fucking doing it on green screen and it's all fake, including the Ukrainian war. I put out something regarding Wag the Dog. They're wagging the dog for the whole world.
They've been wagging
For every
the whole thing's been wagging the dog since day
Oh,
one.
sure, yeah, no, and once you see that, you say, "Holy fuck, man! Why? How could I couldn't see that before?" And once you see it as what a stupid, basically a Hollywood production, the whole world is what we perceive to be real and that's actually happening, you go, oh my God, like it's like literally pulling the curtain back on the wizard there. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, he's just a little, guy who go moving levers and stuff. It's like, it's silly. And that was really easy. It helped a whole lot to see how absurd that reality was, to really let go of it. To
Yeah.
say that's illusion, that
So
is manufactured, it served the few, and they, again, as far as this matrix, that's a topic in itself, but it is something that we transcend through our change in perception,
right.
from my experience.
Well, and that's why I was asking you, like I was talking about, the last few weeks I started working with the third energy more, in I guess more in a more complete way or a bigger way. So to me, it sounds very much like the same thing. And like the thing about working with the quantum field, like I think this is something what you've experienced that other people are going to start experiencing, which is as you start to develop that connection, because it's not like you're working with an aspect up in the ninth dimension. You're right here, right?
Hmm.
And and so the results can be very immediate. But what I'm saying is like someone like you who's already gone through it or who's begun to go through it, which means that it's one thing to be aware of it, but it's another thing to understand the repercussions of having a relationship with it, which means now we've got to be extremely responsible for our thoughts, words, and actions. Like you touched on it already. You said you look at all this the sideshow, and you finally get enough of it and just go, okay, I'm not even gonna go there anymore. So now where do we go? We go to we want to consciously create, and I I think there's what we're going to be faced with. I can't say I've gone through it. I can be conscientious, but in other words, I have to really monitor my thoughts and words and actions because I understand, I guess, somehow innately that I'm coming into my own, as we all are, as a powerful, instant creator.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. No, allow me. Yeah. Absolutely. Great topic. Um, Regarding the thought aspect, again, I know we work on this. All comes, from my experience, is a big part of it is silencing the mind. So
Mm-hmm.
there is no thoughts, literally. There is no unconscious thoughts. You're pretty aware because you're present. You feel everything. So that creates that responsibility. And ultimately, the baseline is I'm not going to do anything that's going to lower my frequency.
Right.
Or if I do, I'm going to catch myself while it's happening and hopefully correct that. Because frequency is everything.
Right.
Resonance and perception. Because your perception literally changes as your frequency lowers or raises.
Right.
So, so regarding that responsible co-creator aspect, again, I sense once you have that feeling of direct connection with source field, that relationship, that I'll just say it's a gift. It's a very responsible gift that you've been provided with. And yeah, no, there is very much the communication that, hey, yeah, we're going to trust you with this, but don't fuck up.
Yeah.
Don't do things that are going to, obviously it's for the benefit of all. It
Right.
cannot be coming from polarity. It cannot
No.
be coming from judgment or anything like that, or wanting to put your own agenda on it. It's
Right.
literally pinging, like, again, we can only go by our own intuition of what this communication means. But I get compellences. I feel compelled
Mm-hmm.
to do things, to say things. I wanted to bring this up because it kind of started why we talked today, which was, I think, ultimately the purpose. It was probably pissed you off at the time. I didn't watch it too long.
It
But,
didn't piss me off.
when
I
you're
was just
doing,
like, I knew you wanted to. It didn't piss me off. I just knew you wanted to say something. Wait, before we
yeah,
go.
no,
Yeah, but before we go there was one.
okay,
Oh, I wanted to share this. Well, no, because I wanted to share this because it's real time, And again,
Uh-huh.
I'm a big believer in, and this is what we do. We share our experience. But what you were talking about, the whole thing about like the warning at the end, right? Like I've gotten this over the last few weeks. You know, I went on this sabbatical, and it would actually had started right before the 6-day sabbatical, which I'd never done in 10 and a half years. So I knew something deep was coming in. And what I got was, and it's happening, you're going to be totally cleaned out. Everything is going to be unloaded. You're going to be totally emptied, you know,
And
that's
can I say something there?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's what I feel really happened for a lot of people over
Yeah.
this past few months. It's hard to put this stuff into words. That's why I love songs and lyrics, movie clip, whatever, visuals, images. Song by Fleetwood Mac, Dreams.
Right.
You know, main line in there. When the rain washes you clean, you'll know.
Right.
And that was the sensation that I had. It's not a holier than thou feeling. It is a knowing that you've been washed clean of any sort of,
Right.
for the most part, enough to get that feeling.
Right.
And that's where this light body aspects and also the gift from Source Field to actually have that channel of communication with the field.
Yeah.
That responsibility, and it's not an ego thing. It's like literally a honor and a big responsibility, and
Yes.
you don't want to lose it. You don't want to lose it.
No. It'd be like
It's
climbing a
too-
ladder. What's the old saying? The higher you go, the harder you fall. But
Yeah.
what you
For sure.
said was, and I just wanted to tell this because other people may come across it. I don't have the answer. I'm just saying my intel and my experience sounds very much like what you just described. And what I got to was as I'm being aligning with what I just told you, and I don't know what the hell it means at the time. I have a little better idea overall now. It means everything, basically. Now, I've been through this before when I went on the street, so that was remember I was telling you about the 10-year cycles and it was very obvious to me that there was something happening cyclically or loop, whatever you want to call it. But what I got was that basically there was not just a cleaning out, there was a final initiation. And the final initiation had to do with, now I can only speak for myself, but it sounds so similar to what you're talking about, so I got to believe it's going everywhere. But they were saying basically, look, this isn't just a cleaning out. It's also an initiation, because you're only going to be given what you can handle. And with the type of abundance that's going to be flooding the earth, a person has to be in the highest level of integrity and to actually go through the motions to the fullest degree, okay? Like a lot of mine is around Soulogy. And in 2018, I was told this is how it works, 5D commerce. Part of it is it's all based on integrity and paying it forward. So just in a general way, any dollar that comes through the gifting of the 5D commerce, 1/3 of it goes back out. So like that would be an example of, are you ready to do that?
Yeah,
That's
and
kind of the way
I'll-
it was going. So I guess what I'm saying is like because you made me think, it was very similar. It was basically, look, it's here, it's coming. Your pot of gold, everybody's pot of gold's coming, but it's not just put your arms behind your head, your feet up on the desk, and kick back now. It's actually here for an abundance being far more than monetary, aspects.
Yeah, no,
but like that we are actually in a very beautiful way going to go to work, but there is a like a I don't want to say pedigree, but there is a certain maturation that a soul in spirit flesh will only get what it can handle. And so that was a big message. So I've been really trying to stay with that and really I've obviously been spending a lot of time alone and, trying to stay focused on you're right. There's not as many thoughts now. Obviously, this has been going on a while, but what comes in? prejudices and biases have been real big on my radar right now, because I found that prejudices and biases aren't stereotypical. They're in everything you do. And I was talking about this the other day. I wrote a message to someone. The last 3 sentences I put in that basically said, I guess my soul pulled me back and said, look at that. Why'd you just write that? Well, it was a very low-lying, under-the-radar prejudice or superiority kind of thing. Comparability. In other words, I was telling this person, I do this and I do that. And so my soul's like, dude, why are you saying that? Because you're basically saying that you do it and they don't, or you do it and you're better than them. So there was this non-unity consciousness pattern that I happened to catch, and I believe that this must be happening to people, where they're starting to become more conscientious, and more conscious.
If you are, again, I'm of the opinion that it's literally presence. It's being in presence, because then and no thoughts, because then it's very clear what's going on, and especially with your frequency. So you can feel your frequency literally. You got your finger on the dial at all times. You can feel it move, and very much real time. So ultimately, I decided, I think most would, that you don't want to do anything that's going to lower your frequency, because guess what? Your perception and your experience is going to be less, less preferable. Anyways, you talked about a lot there, Todd, like regarding, how does this abundance thing work, and collaboration and the sharing. Again, what I've always, I've been fortunate in that I've worked when I've had to, and won't need to go through all the fun and games through the years of ups and downs and whatever, but always of the knowing that it's just literally any of the information we have, our sharing, it's free. You just do it. It's like you're doing, right? And the field, it comes back in kind, and even more. You brought up about 5D. I don't want to address this because I believe again, it's all models, it's all terminology. I believe our DNA is reconnecting fully, and we are moving way beyond 5D.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. I got that term in 2018 from the Arcturians, but it was just basically talking about new commerce, the higher dimensional commerce.
No, for sure. And I just wanted to continue while I still kind of remember it, but absolutely, our DNA is activating so quickly right now that these initiations and embodiments are just happening so quickly. All of this stuff is coming online like super fast, and especially for people who've been doing this a while and have done a lot of the work, because guess what? They're already at that certain embodiment, and then they're pumped, and
I think another thing that I try to remind myself every day, okay, because obviously with more clarity, we're picking up on stuff, and let's just say the higher the soul goes, the higher the ego goes. And what I mean by that is, let me rephrase it. The higher the soul goes doesn't mean you don't have a blind spot still. So what I've noticed is there are, just in, going about my day and whatever life, very high frequency, and it's only one example, but very high frequency beings that have a very big blind spot. And when I see that, I go, where's mine?
You know what I mean? I appreciate you bringing it up, Todd, because I know.
No, but I mean this for everybody. It's like I know. I feel like we actually. I'm going to say this, and it might be controversial. I feel like many of us have reached divine union inside of ourselves. But the fact that we've been so conditioned, and we need so much evidence, and we need everything to be so literal, and we've been linear, and we've thought linear, we're not able to pick up on it. So now what I see happening is what you're talking about, where we're getting this clarity and this collaboration and this synergy going with the field, right? And now the fun starts. But I just, maybe it's just because, a lot of people talk about recently, I keep thinking the shoe's going to drop, but it's not dropping. You
Oh, I
know,
hear you, man.
so
Oh, no,
I don't know if it's just like the PTSD from the human condition, but I
yeah, no,
just try
what
to,
I think probably the biggest, because again, you said a whole lot there. I hope I can get into a few things that you just said, but specifically on non-evidence of in-your-face changes or see, like literally, yeah, wait for for a lot of time. When the fuck are they going to do this Jacera Nacera thing? When's Trump coming in? When are they going to roll out this
man,
gong show here
oh my
to
God,
bring in whatever amount of people into that camp that feel that is their heaven on earth. Anything better than what that's a pretty easy way to train consciousness. Say, hey, beat a dog, and they'll say, well, no, I'm not going to beat you anymore. I'm going to feed you a little better, and it's going to be better. It's going to be better. But I was waiting for that, and literally what it seems like, Todd, is that we are in a stasis. That
yeah,
all of that stuff is probably happening, and at the same time, all of that illusion is disappearing. It like you wonder, where did it go? It's just gone, and you just and so with that, there is this smooth, seamless aspect to the perceptual changes that doesn't mean it has to be
right,
at all explosive or
right,
whatever. Um, I'm not picking up on that, and a big one is that was very much. I wanted to bring this up because this is why I reacted the way I did yesterday. And it wasn't really a reaction, it was a compellence to get your attention. I don't know why. It was a set of some stupid comments here that, and it wasn't meant to call you out, right? It's just, you don't believe in AI. Well, we don't have to go there. But I would, what my big reason was compelled for? Because I see what's going on here as these final, I'm not going to say final choice points, but the significant choice node. There is still, I find it to be the upper tentacles of the matrix. And that would be your spiritual gurus. Okay. I'm not going to give names or not about that. Okay. And this is about discernment. And this is also about middleman between you and source and God. Because this is between you and source and each other. Okay. So there are what I would call high level people that are quite popular that for some reason they are not giving the straight goods. I find that in my own discernment from my own experience. Doesn't mean I'm right. I just felt it's important to know that. I also sense very much an effort of, let's call it 5D. I'm going to name a name. Or what's his name? Ishmael Perez. I haven't even watched much of his stuff, but you can tell there's a number of these people about galactics. Again, they want to come between you and source. Everybody's cool to believe what they want, follow what they want. Like anything, there's 80% truth and 20% distortion. Maybe it's 90% truth and 10% distortion. Ultimately, they seem to want to come between you and source and not allow you to have that direct connection and freedom. So that is why I brought that up. I've made a couple of posts that would probably be considered controversial. I didn't care. It isn't about putting people down. It was really about making the point that this is an opportunity for you to basically be, heaven on earth, a real organic, outside of any sort of, I'll just say, energy sucking. Okay, whether that is in the past, it was entropy and negativity, and in maybe let's call it a 5D, which is still, again, not quite between you and source field. And I know this is getting into this language, it's difficult to communicate, but there could be a feeding on the love and light energy, okay? Or I guess I wanted to call out what I discerned as distortions. And in my own experience, the last tendrils of the matrix. And ultimately, again, from my experience, I've followed a lot of people through the years and God, well, we all need to get a baseline of language and understanding and discernment. But ultimately, yeah, it comes down to between you
Yeah, I agree.
You
I
know,
don't. But
and
after
knowing,
yeah, listening to you right now, I don't see the correlation between what.
yeah, no,
But
yeah,
no.
no.
Let's just go. Let's go.
Let me. Can I just
Yeah,
address
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah,
please?
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Because I think this is important.
Mm,
This is a discernment. Okay, it's
mm,
not a judgment. This is a discernment. This matrix thing, okay, whatever it is, and ultimately it is a system that feeds on consciousness energy. Okay, I'm not going to say by who. I'm not mad at them. I just kind of have a real dislike for them, for
well,
that
I.
sort
But
of energy, right?
yeah.
So with that, I'm saying that these distortions that may appear to be very attractive, and I'm just saying, again, not telling anybody what to believe or who to follow or whatever. You find resonance with whatever, beautiful. That's great. But what I found in my experience, this is their last little attempts to try and curve you off your direct connection to source.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, I still don't see the correlation. but
No
but
problem.
let's
That's
talk
okay.
about because you were talking about AI. I don't see the correlation. But I will say this: I think this is very interesting what you're bringing up, and I think it's relevant.
Mhm.
Everything's relevant. But the thing is, this is what I was talking about.
Mhm.
So if I'm looking around, and I've done it, because I bet you there's probably not too many people in the world that have spent more time investigating platforms over the last 10 years because of what I
Mhm.
do. I like to see what people are talking about, pick up on their energy. But this is what I was talking about earlier. So, and I think I can say this because I've done it too, and you just said it. You or I, or let's say I look at someone on a platform, and I do this every day as an exercise to bring me to 0 point, and I don't always get there. But this is what I was talking about. When I can observe somebody, let's say it's a guru on a platform, who's still stuck in the dualistic structure that built that platform, and we're watching all of those dualistic structures deconstruct, okay? But if I look at that person and I go, he's missing it. I can see his blind spot. He's in his head. He's become something bigger than, he needs to get over himself, whatever. That's a blind spot. I'm seeing that blind spot. And where I go to work there, and I've done it with a lot of people, and a lot of people know. This is my
Mhm.
routine, right? Um,
Yeah.
I look at it and go, okay, if I'm seeing that, what am I not seeing in myself? Because I do have a charge. Because here's one of the things I got out of so far is, especially in these last few weeks or even 3 or 4 months, when something comes in, like let's take that same example. I look at this guy and I go, I can see that, and that's it. I'm gone.
Mhm.
Like I go
Mhm.
on to the next. Like I find that, and this is weird because I do a talk show, and other
Mhm.
things where I'm speaking and I write still and all that.
Sure.
But it's like when I get a truth now, and I'm not there
Mhm.
yet. Many times or more times, I won't say many times, more times, more and more every day, I'm able to take in that information and not say a goddamn thing. Because
Oh, I hear you, Todd.
the minute I say something, now this is just me. This is just
Mhm.
us talking experience. But the minute I
Yeah.
say something, I take on a charge. Because why do I have to say anything?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
And
Like
yeah.
so it
Let me
becomes
say something.
yeah. Go
If I
ahead.
could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
basically, yeah, no, I hear exactly what you're saying, Todd. And this is I'll just call it an initiation, at least from what I've experienced. That, yeah, no, it is ultimately, yes, you want to be in 0 point. No
Right,
polarity, no charge.
right.
That allows you to maximize your frequency and keep it stabilized. Okay? Only we know what that, if there's a charge there and if we're coming out of 0 point
Right.
and maximum frequency. However, there is a little wiggle room there of discernment and a knowing.
Yeah.
And again, unfortunately, fortunately, I've looked at this thing from all sides, and it's not to say I'm right. It's just from my own truth. Is I know this is a very clever little consciousness trap that we are going out of, okay? It's not to
Yeah.
put anybody down
Right.
by calling it out. It's to basically, believe it or not, again, not coming from ego, by me calling that out, guess what? It disappears. Because if I was not, maybe in
Well,
my
I
reality,
see
it
that.
disappears.
Yeah.
And it's also relating to the gifting of source to allow you to have that ability. If like, it's not like, oh, I want to eliminate that. It's just by addressing it and putting it out there,
I
it
agree.
disappears.
I think there's degrees of disclosure that have been absolutely essential to our evolution, especially the last 10 years. I
Mhm.
guess what I'm saying is that no matter what's going on externally, whether it be global or personal or
Mhm.
professional, whatever, I'm just finding that the more time I spend looking out there and assessing this or that, the less time I spend on myself. And I found in this connection that when I take the information in and it kind of like water on a duck's back and I just go about my business, I have a much more open field. And then the thing I was going to say about words is because for me, now it's again, this is my experience, and it's again not the gospel, but so I look at it and before I would either say in my head, or I might even say to somebody, so and so is the whatever, right?
Mhm.
And I realized that you know what, if I really got the wisdom or the information, I don't have to say anything because my frequency will speak for itself.
Right.
But now, how does this translate into what are you going to be doing 6 months from now? Because you're
Right.
not going to have anything to say. And I don't know. It's just like a weird kind of one of many, I would say. And I don't want to, maybe the wrong word, but anomaly. What am I trying to say? Anomaly.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Anomaly from our present wherewithal. In other words, we used to communicate this way. Now, because of what's happening, there's wiggly lines going through it, and we're communicating more telepathically, intuitively,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So it's affecting all these very human things.
Mhm.
And then the other thing, real quick, you in talking about 0 point. The other thing
Right.
that I'm coming to terms with for myself is 0 point is not 0 point can be facilitated through modalities, through dimensional work, through exercises, through a lot of different things. But what I'm finding for myself these last 3 months, 3.5 months, July, August, September, half of October, is to be in 0 point, it requires a moment by moment conscious living approach. When that means
Absolutely. Hmm.
being accountable for my thoughts, number one, because that's really the gold. Because if you can do that, the rest is going to take care of itself. But and it feels very menial, like cumbersome, And I'm like, not to the point where I'm like, to hell with this, but just like, wow, is this really the way that we step through this?
Well,
Is to be very human and have the human on point and be
sure.
responsible and not leaving it up to, any other aspect. I don't know.
Sure. And I'll just,
Yeah, go
again,
ahead.
a lot there, Todd. Number one, regarding polarity. Okay. It's key. It's very important. However, that does not disqualify discernment. Also, we are all here on different missions, I'll say, different purposes. We
Right.
are specialists in different things. Part of mine was to, I guess, in a way, and this is again my feelings, was to facilitate this, to make it happen quicker. And again, it's weird because when you know that it's primarily a individual ascension of our consciousness, maybe we need to do these things to speed up our ascension. I don't know. However, a person can discern, and they can, and you may say, And again, you're in a different role. You have people from all different aspects of the spiritual awakening, different experiences, and different people, and different, obviously, high profile gurus and whatever. And you need to walk a fine line because you're dealing with a whole lot of it's kind of your thing, right? You got to keep it open. My whole thing was really ultimately to make it really clear from my experience the biggest, I'll say, initiation or embodiment was getting past the need to follow anybody for anything. My best information comes, again, I told you, people that I find to be very strong allies. It's not like they're telling me what I want to hear.
Right.
It's that they're living this and they're doing it for real and they know, but it's that knowing inside, and it's a direct communication with you and whatever you want to call it. I call it source or God or the field, the organic field. And then there is no need for any middleman. And I guess I just find, again, leave it at that, I hope, is that my purpose for any sort of, you may refer to it as a blind spot or coming at it from some sort of arrogant point of view, would be I was compelled to do it. It was like sourcing, do this. This is all it's required now.
Well,
This is
it doesn't
part of
have
it.
to.
To correct it, and that's why. So if
Well,
I
I mean,
felt it was coming from my particular wanting it to be right, or to having any judgment or being envious of them having a following. The last thing I want is a following, right? I'm not into that. It's just more so from my experience. I try to get it out there because, lo and behold,
no, I get you.
the people that I connect with are experiencing and have experienced the same things. And they may be a little less vocal about it, obviously, but
Oh, I
I
don't.
think
I
it's
think
important.
that's.
I
Yeah.
think it's important that people are aware that there is little, I'll say, quagmire, that it might be a good idea to not either go into it or not spend a whole lot of time there by following other people's narratives and dogmas that tend to not empower the person with
I
their own
look.
consciousness. They tend to create a
What
following.
again? I
Yeah.
don't see the correlation from yesterday, but I will say this:
No, no, that's
I
okay.
totally. Let me tell you something. I totally agree with you. Now, I can't
Okay.
expect anyone to watch every show we do, but I can tell you this, and I've said it many, many times on the show in the last 3 years, and that is around the end of 2019. And
Yes.
we were very open about this. At the end of 2019, like October, November, December, I started to notice where the practitioners that were coming on were changing in their frequency. Many of them were.
Right.
They were changing modalities. They were stopping practices. They were shifting. And then as we looked at the field and continued to do shows in 2020, and then COVID hit, it became very obvious, and I spoke about this a lot, that the yogi guru teacher template is be demolished. Okay,
Yeah.
so from that point,
Good.
we reemphasized. Now, I'm not saying this to blow smoke up Soulogy's butt. I'm just saying this. I believe this is how this has occurred, and I think we kind of called it, which is in 2020. What started to happen was there was a shift from teacher-student to self-empowerment. So I started to notice, and we started to look for more practitioners that were into self-empowerment / also that would be willing to talk about their personal experience and not keep it over there and present to us what they've been presenting. And also to totally de-emphasize marketing and promotion. Now, where has this come to now? Again, I watch a lot of these platforms, and one of the things I'm noticing, I watch them very intricately. I watch their metrics. I write them in notebooks. I want to see what the trends are, and I realize that information out there isn't totally accurate, so you got to tap into the field as well. But what I'm noticing is that this is what I call them, and again, we all have different roles, but the disclosure, conspiracy, yogi guru type of platforms that have been substantial are losing traction they're not sticking. The people are looking for real stuff. They're looking, and this is why I put up a post yesterday, something about, I love to talk to people who are stepping into their human, right? Who are finding out what it is to be human. This isn't the human that got, bamboozled. This is the human that's divine. And so
Right.
I'm seeing it,
Absolutely.
and that's why, even at this last Soulogy Fest, we had technically really had one headliner, but technically we didn't have any headliners. It was whoever comes, you're on the stage, and this program I feel is the same.
Yeah.
We will have so many no names, so to speak, but like this lady, I keep talking about this lady from last week, Esther. Now this lady was an accomplished practitioner, very powerful, evidently, lives in Europe, Netherlands, and I didn't know her. So, I put her on and she comes on. What do you want to talk about? She spends the next 30 minutes telling me how she was an accomplished practitioner. She was not an ego. She was in pain. She was in depression, and how these entities, physical and not, came and got her, and long story short, took all of her powers away. For the last 2 years, she can't even talk to her higher self. Now, it sounds like a very downer kind of a show, but I can't tell you how many messages I've gotten, because what happened was she was just honest. She was in integrity. She was honest. She wasn't pulling any punches. She didn't hide. It was total transparency. And a wild thing happened at the end, because I asked a couple of questions, and we ended up going into this unofficial, impromptu session, which I'm not even a practitioner, and bingo, right? So, I say this for years on the show. To me, the highest code available is when two people or more have a conversation about their experience. I'm not trying to prove anything to you. You're not trying to prove anything to me. We're comparing notes, and through your telling of your experience, there is intricate code within the story that doesn't come out in traditional instructive ways like we would have in class.
Yeah.
Do this, you do that, you do this. No, you tell the story, and in the story of your experience with your beloved brother, in the aspects of that story, somebody's going to hear it, and somebody's going to get something from it. It could be, hey, I'm going to reach out to my sister that passed, or you know what, fuck the government, I'm never going to be scared of them again, or how, the way he talked about the grief alchemizing into growth. So it's in the story. Sure. To me, I'm way past. Otherwise, I'd be getting David Icke back on here, and not that these things. No, because he had some great individual wisdom when he came on, because it was a totally different interview that he was used to. But that's to me where the story is, And the great thing is too, is that there's so many of these people that have been like hermits, right? They've been like hermits, and and they got so much to offer, just like that lady Esther.
Sure,
God
Todd.
bless her.
Beautiful. Can I interject here, my friend?
Yes.
So yeah, no, you said a lot there. So yeah, absolutely. Bottom line is, again, from my knowing, is authenticity is what it's all about.
Yeah.
You can tell. It's a frequency. Okay. No agendas. Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's no agendas. There are no agendas. An agenda is very, very apparent. Okay. Or not.
Yeah.
I wanted to point this out because I just feel it's timing. I didn't want to forget. Someone that I've really come to respect deeply, that has a pretty significant following and very much out there, is Ramona Le Pen.
Yeah.
I love you, Ramona. I love you, and I love you, Tris. I love you. I love you, Serena. But especially, this is someone that's been really, really putting in the effort, and really, again, sure, coming with. This is something I've been able to overcome. I used to have a problem with language, narrative. I wasn't into the Lisa Renee storyline per se, okay? However, there's a whole lot of good stuff there. It's just a different way to explain things, right? Other people, the language, right? Gene codes and things like this. I didn't necessarily resonate with that.
Right.
However, I figured out, hey, this is just another model, a symbolic way to basically communicate this. Because
Right.
it is always very difficult to put it into words. But again, I wanted to point out, as an example with Ramona, what she's doing is really talking about the real deal from my experience, which is rare. It is so rare to see someone actually talking about the consciousness aspects and cutting to the chase on things and doing it freely. And I wanted to point that out because that's someone I really support. And it's not saying, hey, you should support her too. It's just, I
She's been
wanted
on
to
the
say it
show.
because I felt compelled to say it
Yeah.
because I see really, really solid, strong people that are doing it and have done it and are really quite advanced in this process that are really being brought together to reinforce. Because when you are kind of like one of the lone wolves out there that doesn't have an agenda or isn't necessarily looking to whatever have a following or uh, you know uh, it's kind of like you're like an odd duck. You're kind of,
We are
it's
an
kind
odd.
of like,
We
well, you
are.
know what? Well, sure.
No, we are. It's
I'm going for the craziest
we don't fall
out there
into
award.
we don't fall into a category. It's funny when I interact. No, it's funny when I interact with over the years when we have interact with peripheral platforms and stuff. Ramona has been on the show
Cool.
2 or 3 times, but it was back in 2019, 2018. I have seen some of her stuff. I like her stuff. I've even shared
I,
some of her
I,
stuff.
I love her stuff because she's just again
But
she
but
knows the let me say this,
yeah,
she's one of those people that just gives and gives and gives,
right.
puts it out to the field, doesn't make it, again, it doesn't matter the reimbursement or whatever, however you want to do that, but she knows how it works. She, as an example, you put it all out there, it's meant to go out there as quickly and as efficiently as possible, the real deal. And guess what? The abundance comes in from other places. But the reason that I brought Ramona Le Pen up in particular, she's one of the few I actually still I follow and support her. And it's not like I'm necessarily getting anything new. However, I'm getting confirmation, which is rare. It's extremely rare to find people that are having similar experiences and knowings. And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this is why we talk about, this is why I
mhm.
encourage people to, but and I can tell you this, 30, whatever it is, 38, 3,900 shows now. This is what I'm talking about. There has been, okay, I had a guy come on last week, beautiful guy. He woke up when COVID started. He's been on a fast track for, 3 years now. And I'm talking healer, I'm talking, there's no BS, right? Now, listening to him was like talking to somebody in the early days of the show, 2014, 2015, 2016, when, you know how it would be, you'd get that jolt and then you'd go out and start telling all your family and friends about about reality, and everybody tells you you're fucking nuts. And so he was in that mode, right? And I actually had a lady that same week who had come on but had never come out. And both of them, I told them, I said, what you're telling me is pretty much 80%, 85% of the same story that we hear over and over and over. There's some basic characteristics.
Yeah.
Not to take anything away from it, but going back to Ramona, because she is a good example. She's a great example. And that is that the ones that are stepping up, the ones that I was talking about, the ones that we're going after, and they can be men too, but most of them are women at this point, right? Which falls in
Yeah.
line with the way these communities are made up. They have that same persona as
Yeah.
her. They have that same persona because Ramona's pretty. She's not like loud. She's nice to talk to. She's very articulate. It's been a while, but I remember her very well. But there's a bunch of them out there. When last time I was here, I probably had 8 of them here in the studio that just happened to come by, and they were reluctant, and I was able to talk most of them into. Why don't you sit down for a minute? Let's just talk. But it's amazing to see. But I agree. I think that there is a difference though, because there are some people that are meant to be out there. And I remember, like using her as an example, I remember her coming out of the blocks back then. Like it may have even been 2017. But yeah, and the main thing to me is that somebody step up and do it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's one time,
it was
because
like what? Yeah, no,
because then
absolutely.
other people see it and then they want to do it. And I know that because
Exactly.
the whole time I've been talking to you, my emails going off from the show yesterday, and these people saying I'm ready to come on now. So
Cool.
it's like it's time to come out. It really is for everybody. If you haven't,
Oh,
if you feel compelled, but the great thing about doing that is it's shareable, and it inspires and motivates people. But yeah,
yeah. No,
so,
I like I say, Todd, I admire people that actually really, like you could tell, it's full giving, no agenda from my
yeah.
best read, and I appreciate that. It's just I guess, part of my discernment. And
Well, yeah.
I also wanted to say that basically, yeah, there's no need to wait. There's no need to pussyfoot around. And hey, if you want to wait as long as you want. But there is definitely a large number of people that know that this is highly possible. There's no need to wait. It's not coming from impatience. It's a knowing.
Yeah.
It is a knowing, and it is a what is that? What would you say? It is resolve. It is firm resolve and knowing in your soul that this is not time dependent. It
No,
is
and
ready to
it's
go,
yeah.
and
I agree.
people are running the ball. Like there's no looking back. It's not like, oh, who's with it? It's who's ever, kind of really pushing this thing, right?
Yeah.
And for me, again, I am so grateful for the support group that I do have. And yes, they're all ladies. Because why? Because they are more in tune, obviously, with the bigger picture stuff. And this isn't to put Ed down or anything. It's just this is my experience. I'm able to communicate better because it's clearer, it's more understood, it's more balanced. There's again part of the masculine feminine embodiment, and I can talk to you from my own experience. I did fall into that. Well, I'm just not saying anything here, and I'm just not going to overly try and push anything because it might pull me into polarity, and I don't want to be kind of a bit too over aggressive or something. So I'm just going to kind of stay and sit back here and just kind of, not cause any waves. Masculine energy causes waves, and some waves are required right now. Okay, that's the action. That is the movement. That is the bringing it into
Hmm.
manifestation. So this is what I'm saying. A lot of what I'm finding with many of the people that I admire and very much feel aligned with, they're female and their masculine energy is quite strong, and they are not afraid to be considered pushy or whatever. You know, this is important. This is part of this masculine making it happen energy, which we all have. It seems to be what's required now. Okay, and I'm not saying that applies to everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think too with the whole because I mean I don't know. I mean obviously we had a price or a charge at a Soulogy Fest. I don't think I can recall. There might have been in the early days. Before we got our feet wet, a couple of things we might have tried to do online. But because I'm a big believer in really with what you're saying, in regard to some of the evolution of these platforms and the evolution of our consciousness and our physical experience, which long story short, I believe that it's all based on honor and integrity. That's why we don't charge. It's a free service because I feel like, and I have a relationship with abundance. Right now, we're going through an interesting initiation, but
Sure.
but what I'm saying is I've watched it work, and I've said this many times too. You know, I'll get, I've never taken 6 days off, so that created a vacuum. There's a lag. So it really, and some other mitigating circumstances occurred. So I found myself in this place. Now I've been there before, but just not at this level.
Right.
Especially this far in the game, where there's been so much consistency and kind of an ascending, parallel with the different things in terms of what I do and what Soulogy does. But what I found was always what I would get was, man, I'd be like, you know what, F this, I'm tired, and I would just hear, just go to work. Go to work, don't have a charge, put it out there and have faith. And you're right, that reciprocity occurs and that abundance in all forms comes at you. And I'm real excited about this because I guess because of the personal intel I've got over the years about it and my own role in our ascension, my small role, and this would be, but this would be thank you, but this would be introducing or being on the front line or the crest of the wave of establishing real higher dimensional, higher frequency currency, so to speak. I would just say abundance, and it really has to do. This is my own assertion through my own experience. It has to do with my frame of mind in the moment and my intent, and the openness of my heart. Now, I only say this because I feel like it must be the same for everybody. You know what I mean? Eventually, like, how does that work? And I guess it goes along the lines with what people have talked about with instant manifestation for years. But energy. Here's another way I say it. It's much easier. You don't give what we're creating. You don't give and you don't receive. You share. You show up and you share, because when you share in this high frequency band, there's an automatic giving and receiving, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that she and those like her too. I mean, and she may charge for things here and there, whatever. But yeah, I get it. I totally get that, and I think that's going to be something that'll be interesting to watch too, because there is a lot of commercialization in these communities now. And one of the things I noticed, I don't know if you caught the part yesterday when I was talking about our network that we're about to unroll. That's coming out.
I didn't.
Yeah, so it's
catch
a
that part, 'cause I'd,
yeah. So we hooked up with this Canadian hit and run. We did a drive by, but we hooked up with this Canadian company. We hooked up with this Canadian company that has all the technology. I've been working on this for over 4 years. So we'll have like a Facebook, an instant messenger, YouTube, and LinkedIn all in one place, right? Handheld from the first day. And so one of the things that I did while I was researching is I was looking at different light worker communities that people have tried to start with handheld, right? With what I'm talking about, like with being able to post and message and all. And what I found is they're all basically, I mean, I haven't seen anything outside of this. The ones that I've looked at are really just big advertisement sites. That's what you see. There's not that personalization that you see in say personal profiles on Facebook. So I think that's going to be a real interesting thing to see, to try to migrate parts of a community or people or whatever you want to call it into an environment where there is this frequency of, oh, this is free, and come and join and create your universe, right? I'm excited about it, obviously, but I saw that contrast, and I wasn't expecting that. I wanted to go see, what does this one look like, and I've got invitations. I go in and check it, and really, I didn't see I saw a carryover from the old world, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, for
Instead
sure.
of a creation of a new
your
world.
growth is assured, Todd. So and you're definitely you're bringing it in, and it's very much supported, and will always be supported. And it's, um, as I say, like anything, what I love is I love to see some people that are really putting out the real deal in
Yeah.
my in my feelings,
Right. Right.
and and not quagmire of because it's important. And I guess I'd say this, that you know, hey man, I'm feeling this, like been feeling it imminency for a whole long time, but
How long? Because I have too.
I
I
again
thought it was.
losing track of what even time means, but as far as even guesstimating how long, but I don't know, a couple of months, I don't
Couple of
know.
months. Okay. Well, I just want to get an
Yeah,
idea. Yeah.
and it's not at all tied to any dates. That's one of the
Right.
big ones, or any like the eclipse coming up on. No, it's no. It's this feeling, this compellence that you have this knowing, this imminency in it. You don't need evidence from other people or other experts or
No.
whatever.
No.
It's just you get the synchronicity from the field. It's telling you. It is telling you that this is happening. This is what is happening to you, anyways. And then you, fortunately, uh, hopefully have other people that you're able to get confirmation from of a similar
Yeah.
perception. And then you go, holy crap, well, then this really is happening,
That's right on.
and that is, it is imminent, and it always will be imminent. One of the biggest factors is getting past linear time
Yeah.
perception.
Yeah. Because
It, it is a trip.
Yeah. Well, it comes with. It just comes with limitation. I mean, it just comes with pressure and everything. I can't believe we
It comes
talked.
with waiting.
We talked 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 21 seconds when I just looked up right now.
Oh, perfect.
I never
Two,
go
two,
over
two.
two. But no, I gotta ask you one last question. I need to ask you one last question because I know I'm probably a little older than you. I'm 60, but are you losing your fucking hair, dude?
No,
my hair is
it's all
falling
there.
out. It is.
I haven't like done much. I've been going caveman.
No,
for a while,
I'm
but-
saying that because I'm losing my hair. That's why.
Oh,
I just figured I'd ask you. I wasn't asking.
I
wasn't asking you.
all the time.
I was
Yeah,
looking
no,
for I was looking for
Yeah.
validation, man. I was looking for validation.
Yeah, no, the hair's attached to the hat, Todd.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I try to put a hat on. I try to put a do rag on. I used to wear do rags a lot, and I'm like, man,
You're
fuck.
looking extremely well. And I know everybody else is too. We are reversing that aging, because literally, if anything, this is what the biggest point is, and the biggest aha that's come for me, and it's just overwhelming, is we're moving from entropy to syntropy.
Yeah,
Okay, and that syntropy is heaven on earth. It's growth. It's the way it's supposed to be, and it is eternal life.
yeah,
Okay.
right.
And it is unlimited, man. Like this thing is unlimited. And ultimately, I see it as a renaissance, everyone doing what they love to do, what they're most
That's right.
enthusiastic about, and everyone has more than enough. It's free everywhere to travel, to be like this is so many people I've talked to are just yearning to be together with people that they care about, that they've connected through Facebook generally,
Yeah,
but live in very diverse parts of the world. And however, and this is a big one too, there's absolutely this soul family recognition.
yeah,
It's undeniable, undeniable.
yeah,
And it's, again, that I am so grateful for, because, like most, I'm sure, you tend to feel a bit alone. And that gets a bit wearing after a while. So if you find that support and soul family and resonance and consistency, its field is telling you, yes, it's true.
Yeah.
You're your family. You're
Yeah.
your family.
and my field tells me to be alone.
Well, I hear you, dude.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
I know.
I mean, we've all had a lot of the alone time, but
Yeah.
no, but I have Yeah, because I'm in Sedona right now till the end of the year, and there is a lot of activity, but I'm finding myself, and I'm not hanging out where I'm not feeling resonant, but
Right.
I am aware that when I'm in a small group or something, I have like this natural, second nature reaction. Just I got to go now, but I'm finding now that I'm actually staying in there. Like I did it 2 days ago with a individual, and I typically wouldn't spend an hour and a half, in that role. But something my soul was telling me, you need to sit here, you need to listen, you need to engage this. You need to get your mind off what you think you need to do. So yeah, that's the part that I'm really finding, encouraging to me is the whatever it is, the higher frequencies are seeping into the human body experience, right? And it's not coming in ways. It's not coming in ways that we're used to. You could say
Yeah.
new neural pathways or something, but it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, and it's
It
very
is
yeah.
unbelievable the amount of support we have from Source,
Yeah.
God, from the field to accelerate this, because that energy it's massive, and it's just continuing to grow. And there is a divine plan, absolutely, and it's
Fuck yeah, there is. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm laughing. I'm laughing at Pam. I'm laughing at Pam's quote. Well, not her. It's not her quote. I'm looking. I don't know if y'all can see this, but I'm looking at her. I'm looking at her.
There we go. We are frequency holders.
Yeah,
at our
but
locations, yeah.
her icon is a cat sitting on a taco, on a It looks like it's a cat sitting on a breakfast taco with a quasar. With a quasar behind the cat. What the hell is that?
Perfect.
That must be her. That must have been her Lyrian surfboard.
I guess so. Yeah, no, I'm definitely picking up on the cat energy out there now. You
she's
talk
special.
about the Lyran and etc., but it's obviously very much a multidimensional embodiment that is happening. Everyone's coming, as we talked about a long time ago. Everybody wants to be at the party, including our higher aspects.
Man, I'm going to be dancing on the bar with Archangel Michael. I'm going to be dancing on the bar with Archangel Michael, smoking Resurrection.
Well, absolutely. Man.
Snorting Angels Trust.
It is for real. It is for real.
Hell yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. I love you, bro.
Okay.
I really
I love
enjoyed
you
it.
too, Todd.
I was actually in the car falling asleep in between the last show and this show. And yeah, I'm totally energized now. I thought I'd go home after this, but I guess I'll spend the night in the studio again and do some work. But,
Well, this is another one of those examples of no time. Like literally.
exactly. Yeah.
2.5 hours, apparently. It feels like whatever.
I know, man. 2 hours, 27 minutes.
That's the way it's supposed to be all the time.
I got you. Hey, listen, thank you, and thank you, everybody, and thank you for your continued love, support, and contributions. Allow us to keep doing this every day. Endless gratitude, love, respect, honor, and reverence. And
Hi, everybody.
peace out.
Thank you. Talk
Till the
soon.
next time. Yeah, till the next time, Neil. Take care. Thank you.
Okay.